In this video, I'm going to just be going over which runes are just really important to have in the game, which help a lot just as far as general gameplay and stuff goes. I will have a separate video at some point just covering which runes are just better for combat power if you want to try and boost yourself on the leaderboard. But this is just going to be kind of focusing on in general combat, and then I'm going to just kind of also just detail as far as situations where some runes might be better than others, either early versus late game, or just depending on what kind of stats and what slime you're using. So really, overall, probably the best rune in the game is just going to be attack, just because it scales so much. It helps your slimes just attack damage output so much. Obviously, that's kind of the main point of the game here, is to have enough attack to be able to defeat the enemies. The second, probably just most popular one, is going to be attack speed. Attack speed is once again really crucial. The higher frequency at which you can attack is just going to be better, just because even if you can kill an enemy, a lot of the times, especially on those later stages, just more and more enemies do come, and so that's just what makes it really important, just to be able to attack enough enemies fast enough and be able to kill them, obviously. So it's going to just boost your attack frequency as well as just overall damage output. Now, with this is kind of a niche one, but the next one that is just a really important rune is a multi-attack chance. And now I'm looking through here. Here's one I have, but a multi-attack chance can be a really important rune to have, and it is just very situational. I've definitely put it up at the top here, but like if you're using a slam like Chloris Vinamira, who has just as part of their kit, they have just bonus multi-attack rate. You can also, if you need some more multi-attack rate, you can do this through the fountain. But really, for multi-attack chance, all you need is ideally as close to 100% as you can get. So I'm at 90 here with this current setup, but that's probably good enough just as far as getting those multi-attacks off. Multi-attack chance is a really good rune, just because, kind of like attack speed, it just helps you target more enemies and just output more damage, trying to just mitigate the issue of you getting swarmed. Now, the next couple of runes are a bit situational, and these two runes are actually going to be hit rate as well as dodge. So these runes are very important, especially early in the game. A hit rate rune might be really critical. Like right when you get onto chapter 12 in normal mode, you're going to need a lot of hit rate to actually be able to consistently deal damage to the enemies. But later on, and depending on the stage, depending on the league mode you're in, you might actually not need as much hit rate. So this hit rate one can be a bit situational. You'll just kind of need to be paying attention to the stage as far as how much hit rate you actually need. If you get one, I definitely keep it. I wouldn't be re-rolling it every time, but just something to be aware of. Sometimes it can actually be more helpful than others. If you're using like the Thunder God set, where you actually get just bonus hit rate, it might not be as important. Now the other one is dodge chance. So dodge chance early on, not quite as just crucial, but if you can get some really good dodge chance runes, that will help you a lot, especially in like normal mode chapter 13. Those late hard mode stages, league, dodge chance can be a really good one, especially if you can get like 4 just mythic dodge chance runes. That can just help you a lot. Now on to kind of this next category, and I talked about, so like HP is a really good mythic rune, but HP is one of those where indefinitely, just as far as survivability, it helps. Early on it's good, but later in the game you actually can get away with not running some HP runes, especially if you have like a high dodge rate or something. HP in general is good. There are just ways to work around it. Now these next ones, so one of my next favorites is actually the shield HP. This also just does depend on the slime you're using. So like shield HP is really good, especially with Nepris or ARP, just because if you have that epic water artifact, you can get some cool bonuses as far as shield HP goes. But in general, shield HP is just pretty good, just because with the Tower of Elements upgrades you can also get, that will give extra damage resistance to shield HP. You can just stack a lot of shield HP, and in essence, it acts like an extra layer of your regular HP, so it could just help you be a lot tankier. Probably the next one I would say is double attack damage percentage. Now, this is, here we go, double attack damage percentage. So double attack damage percentage, so you have the chance to, for any of your attacks, to just trigger 2 attacks, trigger double damage. And so if you can get that double attack damage percentage high, it will just boost your overall damage output. Now, it's not going to be near as good as your attack or attack speed, so I would definitely prioritize those. But if you don't have, and this is kind of where it gets to the point where use whatever runes are best given what you have, especially early mid-game. You're not going to have a lot of runes, so part of it just might be dealing with what you have. If you have a mythic double attack damage rune, but you only have an epic regular attack rune, it might just make sense to use that double attack damage rune, just because overall it will give you more attack. You're going to have to play with combinations early on. Now, next, I would say this is kind of a situational one, although with one of the more recent updates they've had, and that is going to be critical chance, which, there we go. So critical chance, you actually, unlike multi-attack chance, where multi-attack chance you don't want any more than 100%, critical chance you actually can use more than 100%, just because enemies' status resistance can decrease the chance you have to actually deal critical hits. But early on in the game, you don't really need a ton, so it doesn't make sense to have a lot of critical chance over 100. But even right now for me, I could equip a critical chance rune, and it actually would probably be a pretty decent benefit, just because it would get me up just right over 100% critical chance. The more you can deal critical attacks, especially considering how much critical damage multiplier you end up getting in the game, that bonus critical chance does definitely go a long way. Then we have lifesteal's one that's pretty good. Now, lifesteal it's helpful for survivability. It's definitely going to be a lot better than the regeneration, but also depending on the slime you're using, you might actually already have a lot of lifesteal. It is a bit situational. Now, onto, and this one goes really well with critical chance, is your critical damage. Having a high critical damage is good, but really, obviously, this one isn't helpful at all if you don't have a high critical chance percentage. So definitely make sure you have enough critical chance percentage, and then after that, and you don't have any of the kind of previously mentioned runes, then you can look at getting some bonus critical damage. Then the last couple, really, and these aren't just that good in general. We'll see how it plays out, but the last two that I'm going to talk about at least, are going to be your critical resistance and then your regeneration. So critical resistance, which this is one that's damage return, just don't even use that. But there are a couple. I don't think I have a critical resistance on me, but critical resistance stats. So how that critical resistance works is it reduces the enemy's chance to deal critical damage to you, or as well as how much it deals to you. So this is one where, so far in the game, it's just not that important. I'm not saying down the road it might not be with later stages they add, but currently critical resistance doesn't do a ton. So, and definitely when you're looking at re-rolling your runes, now if you get a critical resistance and you only have one mythic rune and its critical resistance, I would probably re-roll it just to see if you can get an attack or attack speed, something actually more usable. But really, critical resistance doesn't seem to just do a lot right now. Now, the next one is regeneration. Regeneration, kind of a hard one. I personally like to keep it just because it's really fun for combat power. But once again, if that's your only mythic rune you have is a regeneration rune, you're probably better off just re-rolling it to something else. But regeneration, it's good for combat power, and that's about it. It's just really not that much use beyond that. Now, the one I don't believe I talked about, range damage, it's helpful as far as combat power, but really, and you can use it situationally, but it's just not a priority in any way, really. You're going to be just much better off focusing on other stuff. Splash damage, that's the same thing. This is actually much worse than range damage. Splash damage isn't helpful at all. Your skill critical chance, not helpful at all. There might actually be a skill critical damage one as well. I would definitely ignore that. But really, those first few runes I talked about, those are going to be the main important ones you should focus on. Then, of course, combat power is going to kind of be a whole different thing. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions.